Good evening. I'm so excited to be here today celebrating the unique gem our state has in Texas State Technical College, or shall I say, unique icon. You have to love the symbolism of the 1965 Ford Mustang and TSTC, two icons 50 years in the making. And what you have here is a fabulous tribute to the expertise of TSTC students who restored this vehicle to its present beauty, and I hope that it doesn't get any speeding tickets. I am pleased to look out, of course, this evening at a sea of colleagues, industry leaders, successful technicians, retirees, and of course the current leadership and employees of Texas State Technical College. I want to also say thank you to the TSTC Foundation under the leadership of Virgil Moore for bringing us all together tonight to show our collective support. Let's please give them a big hand. I think it's a fair analogy to state that much of the same way that the '65 Mustang was innovative, sleek, and ahead of its time, so TSTC today is in today's higher education landscape. Over the last 6 years, TSTC has seen a 23% increase in certificates or degrees awarded and a whopping 60% increase in the first-year earnings for its graduates. TSTC, and you may know this, is also the first college system in the nation ever to be funded solely upon student employment outcomes. And not on the amount of time the students spend in a class. And for some other really good numbers, starting salaries for TSTC's top 5 hot jobs range from $40,000 a year to $80,000 a year, and here's even better news for the first year earnings of the 2012 graduates. They earned $58 million, and these are extraordinary accomplishments. Now, about the evening, you're going to have a program at your seat with the order for the evening. Tonight we have a great dinner, followed by remarks by our wonderful new governor, Greg Abbott. We will then recognize those whom the TSTC Foundation wishes to honor with the Founders Award, and then we'll close out the evening with the closing remarks from one of TSTC's own graduates, Dr. Elton Stuckley. But first, we do have a video message, I believe, from United States Senator John Cornyn.
Hi, I'm Texas Senator John Cornyn. In 1965, Texas Governor John Connally set a lofty goal for the newly created Texas State Technical College. He wanted it to be the most sophisticated technical vocational institute in the country. Now, on your 50th anniversary, I want to congratulate TSTC on rising to that challenge. TSTC's 11 campuses play a vital role in educating and preparing students to be valuable, productive members of the workforce. Over the years, nearly 100,000 graduates have left TSTC's campuses, armed with the skills necessary to meet the demands of an ever-changing economy. TSTC has truly become a leader nationally, and closer to home, TSTC and its graduates have improved the lives of countless Texans. So I want to congratulate all of you again on 50 great years, and I look forward to your continued success.
TSTC is governed, as you probably know, by a 9-member board of regents appointed by the governor. Chairman Ellis Skinner is serving his 3rd year as TSTC's board chair, and he's in his second 6-year term. Chairman Skinner, will you now join me on stage?
Thank you. Thank you, Susan, for helping us celebrate this special occasion. On behalf of the Board of Regents, I want to thank the Foundation and its sponsors, as well as everyone here this evening for your support now and in the future. Without each of you, the success of TSTC would not have been possible. 50 years ago this very day, Governor John Connally signed legislation creating Texas's first comprehensive vocational and technical training facility, then called the Technical Institute of Texas A&M. We have invited Luke Conley, a descendant of both James Conley and John Conley, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and give our invocation. Luke, would you please come up?
Good evening. Would you please pray with me? Heavenly Father, creator of all that is good, we thank you for the sovereign hand on TSTC. Lord, we are grateful that you have orchestrated all that we celebrate here tonight. As we looked at the accomplishments of 50 years, we know that not only were your fingerprints on the establishment of this institution, but also its sustainment. So we give you thanks for your blessings. We thank you for those who were courageous enough to have the vision and faithful to see it to completion. We are thankful for how TSTC is able to serve the needs of our communities and its continued vision for that moving forward. Lord, we ask your favor and your blessing on TSTC as it moves into the future, that you would provide wisdom, humility, and divine purpose to those who need it while plotting the path forward. We lift up those who play a role in defining TSTC, our leaders here in Austin and across the state, the TSTC administration and the instructors on each campus. May you bless each one of them, Lord, and that make their work fruitful. And we thank you and we ask these things in the name of Jesus. Amen. Now would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our nation's flag. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now please join me to the pledge to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
While it is customary to recognize distinguished guests at celebratory events like tonight, we'd be here until the next anniversary if we took time to recognize each of the difference makers who are here in this room tonight. There are more than 40 current legislators here, not to mention former legislators such as Senator Murray Watson and former State Rep Bob Salter, who co-authored the bills that separated TSTC from Texas A&M in 1969. We have difference makers like those TSTC friends who are now retired from the TSTC, such as Dr. Gilbert Leal and Mike Buck. We have difference makers with us like Robert Hawkins, who graduated in the very first class of James Connolly Technical Institute in 1966 and returned later as an employee for nearly 30 years. And finally, this room itself is filled with difference makers, our founding sponsors, benefactors, and investors who join with the TSTC Foundation in providing for tonight's celebration, and in doing so, providing students support and instructional aid to TSTC. Let's give them a hand. In a very few minutes, the 48th governor of the state, Greg Abbott, will join us on the stage. And let me give you a little background, which of course you probably know. He has a strong record of conservative leadership as Texas's longest-serving Attorney General, and prior to his election to 3 terms as Attorney General, Greg Abbott served as a justice on the Texas Supreme Court, and before them as a state district judge in Harris County. He's a native Texan, and he was born in Wichita Falls and then raised in Duncanville. After graduating from the University of Texas with a BBA in finance, he received his law degree from Vanderbilt University. He and his wonderful wife, Cecilia, she's a former school teacher and a principal. They've been married for 33 years. They live in Austin with their daughter, Audrey. Governor Abbott has a vision to build a better future for Texas, a vision focused on creating jobs and economic opportunity, improving education, building transportation infrastructure, and securing Texas's border in the face of federal government inaction. But before we invite Governor Abbott up to share his remarks with us, it's my privilege to invite TSTC Chancellor Mike Reeser to the stage. By the way, Chancellor Reeser is no stranger to any of us in Austin, especially at this time of year in the session. Since 2010, Mike has served as the 9th Chancellor of TSTC. We knew him prior to that as the president of TSTC in West Texas, and of course the Chief Financial Officer for TSTC statewide. He has been touted by the Lumina Foundation as a champion of higher education. Think tanks, educational institutions, media outlets, industry groups, and policymakers across the nation are watching what is happening here in Texas. And under Chancellor Reeser's leadership and with legislative support, TSTC is the first college station, I've just got to say this twice, it's the first college station in the nation to be funded solely upon student employment and not educational hours. This is a big deal. I have no doubt that TSTC has come up with a solution that will profoundly impact the skills gap, providing more skilled technicians in Texas business and industry, and therefore, of course, strengthening the economy of our great state. Chancellor Reeser.
What a great evening is this. Wow. TSTC is so honored to have you here. Yeah, it was 50 years ago today that Governor Connolly signed that bill that created what became the TSTC system, and we couldn't be happier. In just a minute, I'm going to invite Governor Abbott up to the stage, but before I do, I want to just say we got you here, all 500 or 600 of you, and you're going to have to endure about a 2-minute TSTC commercial. Did you? It's the least you should expect. And by the way, I can barely see you all, so you're still there, right? Okay. You know, okay, thank you. You know, TSTC is a different kind of college. When the founders that we honor tonight created us 50 years ago, that was indeed their vision. Texas is blessed with a huge array of wonderful universities and colleges, and we need that diverse institution because of the needs of our economy are so diverse. So TSTC was intentionally conceived as a different kind of school. The first on that is our narrow, focused mission. I'm not aware that there's any other school in Texas whose mission statement provided to it by the legislature begins with, "The institution shall do economic development." Isn't that great? We shall do economic development. And the means with which they are to do economic development is to focus on creating a skilled workforce in high-tech and high-demand areas for the industrial employers of Texas. Now, we took that mission incredibly seriously 50 years ago, and here we are a half a century later doing the same thing, only bigger, better, and faster than ever before. And it's because of the great team that we have. I think another reason is because technology is our middle name. And all of us know technology continues to march on. In fact, it's changing at an accelerating rate. And what that means is if you're going to teach technology, you better be ready to reinvent yourself at the same rate of speed or else. Jack Welch said it best when he said when the rate of change outside a firm exceeds the rate of change inside the firm, the end is near. Well, what we've proven is for 50 years, we can do all tech all the time and still stay not just up, but a little bit ahead of what the trends are looking for. And that's why we're still here 50 years later. And I'll bet the employers in the house would say, and we're thankful for that. TSTC's thirst for innovation, I would call it an obsession with innovation, started with well, it didn't start, but it culminated in a big way with the funding formula that you heard Susan just talk about. And it was absolutely a godsend to us when the legislature said, we like that, let's do it like that. because it opened up the doors for innovation. We aren't tied to the clock anymore. We aren't tied to the conventional notion of how you can teach college. And so we're the first college in Texas to do competency-based learning face-to-face in technology for college credit. First in Texas. And I have to put in a plug. We want to thank the co-board. They provided us with a pilot grant to help us create that system. Number two, because of that competency-based learning, and this is a big feat because there's only about 5 of colleges like this in the nation, we got DOE approval. That is the U.S. Department of Education approved TSTC to offer federal financial aid for our competency-based programs. We don't know of another school in Texas, and there's only about 5 in the nation that can do that in face-to-face classes. So there's another example of that innovation. And we have all kinds of stuff coming. I want to give a shout out to L3, who is an employer, the L3 Platform Integration Division. We do work with L3, who's the biggest, this is an example of how we work. They're the biggest employer in McLennan County. And they're here tonight. Thank you, guys. They're here tonight. We have custom curriculum that we make just for them, and our college students are constantly exposed to the L3 culture. It's a partnership that is born on a common vision, and that is we want to take ambitious Texans and get them the skills they need for a really great paying job. And what a great accident that that's exactly what the employers want too. And so we have those custom programs like that I think are particularly special. And coming soon to a TSTC all around you, all 11 of them, is micro-credentials and badges. Now, micro-credentials and badges are going to be new, custom-sized college credentials that allow people to get just the right amount of just the right kind of focused training that qualify them for jobs that are open today in Texas for immediate hiring. And often these are going to take months and not years to complete. So you'll see that very quickly out of TSTC in the year ahead. And there's one final thing that I want to drive home, and many of you already know this. If you're a TSTC student, if you're the parent of a TSTC student, or if you're an employer, and even the legislature knows this too, and that is a high principle for us, is that of value. I think you can search far and wide seeking a school that can take such a little bit of tuition dollar and a little bit of time and turn it into such a well-paying career. That kind of ROI for the student is tough to match anywhere in the country. You know, we think too that from a legislative and a policy standpoint, TSTC is a good investment from that standpoint too. If you look at that broad array of higher ed that we have in Texas, one that we should be duly proud of, TSTC is actually a fairly modest investment in that. But the yield that we turn in to the state of Texas in the form of employed Texans in great paying jobs that are serving the employment needs of Texas, that return on investment is hard to beat by any other school. And so we're duly proud of that. And we're glad to be a part of that. But I'll offer you this. I could talk about TSTC all night long. Would you like to? Is that okay? Okay. Yeah, any of the employees in the house are going, here he goes again. So, but I've got somebody who can actually talk about TSTC for me. And if you don't mind, I'd like to run a video clip right now, which we're using with permission, from a very well-known fella. And if we could, here we go.
A young man named Justin Friend attended Texas State Technical College in Waco. and received a 2-year certificate in welding. In 2013, in his first full year on the job, this young man made about $130,000. Last year, in his second year, he made about $140,000. So I'm thinking, if this governor thing doesn't work out, I'm going to TSTC and getting myself a welding certificate.
I give you the governor of the state of Texas, Greg Abbott. I want you to know that we like the governor right where he is, and that we think a plan B is really unnecessary. Don't you? Yeah. But I'll tell you what we do it. We have a governor who understands the important role of technology, and we wanted to honor him. So if you don't mind, I've got something special for him right here. Are you ready? It reads, upon the recommendation of the Chancellor and by authority of the Board of Regents, TSTC hereby awards this Honorary Associate of Applied Sciences in Welding Technology.
That is so cool.
Thank you. So, for retirement, you can do art welding. Now, I want you to know that as a brand new welder, the newest minted welder in Texas, if I could set this down, there's one other thing that I have to tell you, is no welder worth his salt starts his profession without the right accoutrements. So I have someone who's going to bring the accoutrements that we'd like to provide to you for your first gig. And you may know this person, but you've never met him. And the reason is he was too busy making $130,000 and then $140,000 as a welder. I give you Justin Friend. Yes. That's it.
That is so cool.
Congratulations. Yes. You know you're a celebrity. Thank you so much.
Justin, I'm proud of you, man. Thank you.
I'll hold that for
Sure.
you if you'd like. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow. That's the most fantastic way I've ever had to begin a presentation. Is it time to begin yet? Is there anything? It's like,
Did you mean welding or speaking?
do I not win that Mustang tonight? Chancellor, thank you very much for the incredibly special evening. That is just remarkable. And I cannot thank you enough for the welding degree that I now have, that I may be putting to use one of these days. And I know how valuable it is. It's worth, in monetary terms, a lot more than that Vanderbilt law degree I got and cost far less. But thank you so much for all that you are doing for TSTC. The role that you're playing is so imperatively important for the future of the state. I cannot thank you enough, and a key reason why I wanted to be here tonight was to demonstrate not just to you, but to everyone here the incredible role that Chancellor Reeser plays for the future of the state of Texas. If I could, I'd like to also thank Justin Friend. I last saw him here. Where did Justin go? Is he still out here? Right? And Justin, thank you very much for being part of Texas lore now. It's just stunning to see what a young man can do, quite literally. In his first year on the job working full-time, I know you worked some long hours, but you deserve to be paid what you got. But it demonstrates the value of a degree or a certificate from TSTC. But it also shows quintessential Texas tradition, and that is anybody can achieve absolutely anything if they work hard and dream big, and that is what Justin Friend did. Congratulations, Justin. When you consider the financial opportunities that he's had, you've also seen the reality of what TSTC does, and that is it offers far more than just a piece of paper like what is on that degree that has my name on it right now. It offers a key that opens the door to opportunity, an opportunity for a job, an opportunity for a career, financial opportunities where this young man can have a family, can do what he wants to do. This is what a quality education product should be all about, and I'm deeply proud. Also, in looking at the equipment that he gave me, it's kind of interesting. You talked about needing that mask and those heat gloves for welding. I got to tell you, I could use that in my current job. I am enjoying my current job with one of my good friends here tonight, my co-partner in leading Texas to an even brighter future, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. There are so many here who are deserving of recognition. I would like to call out especially some men I met, I think, for the first time tonight. Those who are two members of two foundations who are providing $40 million for a new TSTC campus in Fort Bend County. It takes charity like that to make Texas happen. Thank you for making that campus happen in Fort Bend County. I also want to thank all of the employers I met tonight, as well as all the employers that I've talked to across the state of Texas over the past couple of years who are seeking employees from programs like TSTC. TSTC exists, as well as other community colleges and 2- and 4-year colleges around the state, because of our employers. Texas has proudly been leading the nation for a decade in job creation, and that is because of our employers. Let's give a big round of applause to everyone here who employs anyone, especially from TSTC. There's somebody else, though, I would like to recognize, just one last person. And I want to recognize him in part because he himself attained a certificate from TSTC, but more importantly, he is related to one of the visionaries who began TSTC, and his name is Luke Conley. Luke, why don't you stand up? The real reason why I wanted to recognize Luke, however, has nothing to do with those things. It's something else. Luke is what America needs. In addition to those other things, Luke served time in the United States military and served in Operation Iraqi Freedom. And for the challenges he went through, Luke earned a Purple Heart. We thank you, Luke, for your service to this country. It's because of people like Luke who have fought for our freedom on battlefields across the entire world that we have the freedom to fight on the battleground of ideas in Austin, Texas, and I think that we should applaud every man and woman with us tonight who has ever worn the uniform of the United States military. I'm especially proud of TSTC in so many ways, but if I understand it, one connection you have is that you do have a focus on working to recruit our veterans. I think it's a shortcoming that we have as a country right now, and that is we have not done an adequate job of reintegrating and hiring our veterans who have served this country. And I would implore the employers here and those not here to go hire a vet. We need these men and women employed. Well, I have just a few things to say. One is I am so proud to get to be a part of this 50th anniversary of TSTC. That's just a remarkable feat. 50 years of contributing to expanding opportunity in this state. It's so important that you know the vital role that TSTC plays for this state. I want to touch upon just a couple of them as it fits within my perspective of the larger role that we need to be able to achieve in education, which is a fundamental concept if we are going to advance this state. Point one, that applies to TSTC and really my perspective of any level of education as I was visiting with a principal earlier tonight. We have to get away from a one-size-fits-all approach to educating our children. All children are different. And when it comes to high school and those students who are graduating from high school, it may be right for some of those students to go on to a four-year college program. It may be better for them to go to a program like TSTC. And by the way, I was so excited to get to meet so many students here tonight who go to TSTC. Or it might be the right pathway for students to graduate from career and technology and vocational programs in high school and go directly into the workforce. We as a state, we as education providers, we as educators and employers need to understand the flexibility that must be provided for different pathways for different children. If we can achieve that, we will be a much more successful state by, one, ensuring that these children are going down a pathway that's rewarding to them. Two, it will be helping them develop careers in which they were able to establish ways in which they're able to contribute back to society. But just look at some of these pathways. I look at what people like Justin Friend has done and compare that to some stories I've heard about some people who will invest hundreds of thousands of dollars, sending a child to a school for 4 years only to have them graduate and do nothing more than be a barista at a coffee shop. A TSTC certificate with a more than 90% employment rate is far more effective use of a student's time and resources and is a better pathway to lift the entire state of Texas. The second thing I'll mention is that we as a state have to do a better job working together to develop a better skilled workforce. I've heard this around the state countless times, and I've got some good news and some bad news. The good news comes from a trip that I took last Friday. Last Friday, I went to the new Amazon Fulfillment Center in Schertz, Texas, just down I-35, just north of San Antonio, Texas. This place is amazing. It is about the size of 59 football fields. And they, in that immense size, employ about 500 people. Most of what goes on in this facility is robotics. Robotics are moving all kinds of objects and materials in the fulfillment center for Amazon, and I know that robotics is one of the things that TSTC focuses on. I didn't query the management, but I have no doubt that some of those employees there are graduates from TSTC. But I did ask the person who was guiding me around. It was one of the lead executives from Amazon who came all the way down from Seattle to show me this new Amazon Center. And putting my economic development hat on, I queried this high executive from Amazon, why is it that you're building all of these centers in Texas? Thinking that I was going to hear, well, it's because of our low taxes. It's because of our reasonable regulations, or something along those lines. And I was surprised and in a way pleased to hear it wasn't that. He gave me an answer in a nanosecond. Immediately he said, it's the workforce. He said he is opening up centers in Texas because we have the best workforce in the United States of America. And you're a part of that. Now for the bad news. The bad news is we are not doing a good enough job of providing that skilled workforce. I talked to some employers here tonight who said that they were short of the employees they need. There was a report, I'm sitting next to Susan Combs tonight, and I bet, or if I recall correctly, this report was issued by you. If not you, then it was issued by your successor just after you left office. But there was a report issued by the Comptroller's Office recently that had a questionnaire to companies that were relocating from one place to another. And they considered Texas as an option, but chose not to come to Texas and went elsewhere. And we as a state wanted to find out why. the number one reason given for why these companies moving elsewhere chose a place other than Texas was lack of an adequate skilled workforce. We need to provide that skilled workforce. We need to support TSTC to make sure we get that job done. The last thing I'll mention to you is this. One perspective I have as governor is the perspective of looking at things through the lens of a leader as opposed to the lens of a politician. You know, it's very easy for anybody to be able to pick up a pole and see how the wind is blowing today and make a decision to act on the demands of the pressing needs of the day. A leader is different. A leader is a visionary, someone who doesn't just respond to what is demanded today. A visionary is someone who has the ability to take an action today, knowing that 50 years from now, it will be more profound than it is today. John Conley was that visionary, and the legislators who worked with him at that time to envision and to create TSTC and to see what it has become over the ensuing 50 years. I want you to know that as your governor, I will be that visionary looking for what we can do for the next 50 years for TSTC. So from my wife of 33 years, the First Lady of Texas, we both send you our greetings and our congratulations on 50 very productive years and wish you all the best for the next 50 years. God bless you all, and may God continue to bless the great state of Texas. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. How about another round for our governor? We are honored. We're here tonight because we stand on the shoulders of some really important people. TSTC, very few of us have worked at TSTC for 50 years. In fact, I haven't found any of us who have. But we actually have people here today, and then also family members of those who started us in the very beginning. And in some cases, they're organizational founders, and in other cases, they're individuals. And so we're here to begin to pay homage to them for all of the work they did to create the TSTC that we have today. These people are the ones who had that vision that the governor has told us began us and that he has pledged to continue going. As you know, TSTC has a college in Central Texas, another in East Texas, one in West Texas, and another in South Texas. And so our honorees tonight come from those various regions. So if I could, I would like to begin by announcing, if we could, the award winner from Central Texas. Murray Watson. Former Senator Murray Watson co-authored the Senate bill creating the Technical Institute that became JBTI on this very day in 1965. Governor Conley signed that legislation on this day, and thus the James Connolly Institute was created. It was Senator Watson who then, 4 years later, came to the college's rescue when 3 Senate filibusters resulted in some confusion about the future of JCTI, its new name and its governing agency. And so he came to our aid once again. And as if TSTC wasn't already indelibly connected to the senator, he then, after retirement, joined the TSTC family as general counsel. And he served with TSTC for 26 years. Today, thanks to the generous financial support that Senator Watson and his gracious wife Greta have provided to TSTC, there are 2 buildings on our campuses in Waco named after them. One is the Rec Center, and then across the street is the Culinary Arts Center, a discipline that was near and dear to Greta's heart. So, Senator Watson, will you join me on stage?
I was in the Senate, and we were been working with the local chamber and with an economic development around here in Central Texas. We had to depend on the armed services for our trained technicians. Well, that supply was kind of dwindling down. Left most of the people from World War II were already retired or had to get jobs. We convinced the governor to recommend that we put a training facility, TSTC, out at James Connolly Air Force Base. Introduced it, got it passed, and it was kind of a labor of love from that point forward. The people here in Central Texas have always been interested in education, and this opportunity to get a facility to start it, and the shortage, we didn't need any more academic institutions. We need somebody to train people to work in vocations or in crafts or in technicians. That's where the jobs were, and that's where the jobs are today. And from that, we were able to build and take people who would come from a family of income, maybe of $9,000, $10,000, and one of their children would go to TSTC and get out and start making $30,000, $40,000 a year. After a year's training, it really was a wonderful resource. TSTC teaches you how to work, how to make a living, and support your family. What I hope for is the TSTC will continue to get its due respect and recognition as an institution, not just of higher education, but an institution where you can go learn a skill or a trade so you can make a living, and will be an economic driver for economic growth of not just Waco and the places we have campuses, but for the whole state of Texas. We envisioned at the beginning that it'd be statewide coverage. And I want to say thank y'all for this opportunity to explain how important it is to me and to my family. Being involved with it from the idea forward, it's kind of like seeing your first child born. They're first born, they learn to crawl, then they learn to walk, then they grow up, and you want them to do well. And that's kind of like, that's the way it's been with me at TSTC. I want them to do well and to continue to do well.
Thank you, Senator. The 2015 Central Texas TSTC Founders Award goes to Senator Murray Watson with all of our heartfelt thanks. Thank you very much. Without Senator Watson, none of us would be here. Now, from South Texas. In the 1960s, while our country was in the midst of a space race, the leaders of the city of Harlingen were in a race of their own. A race to stop the devastation of a Rio Grande Valley economy that took the hit of the closure of the Harlingen Air Force Base. Together, numerous leaders in RGV brought the hope of new prosperity to the valley through TSTC, then JCTI. This community has ensured the college had the buildings, the financial support, and the technology needed to provide technical education to citizens of South Texas. They've done it consistently for nearly 50 years. We were blessed, we TSTC in South Texas, to have that kind of strong leadership. And with us tonight are several who were instrumental in TSTC's success in the Valley. Former Region and Board Chair Connie De La Garza is with us tonight. Connie's right over here. Oh, yes. Thank you, Connie. Also with us from Harlingen tonight is a man who gave his life in service to TSTC for more than 30 years, 20 of which he served as president of the institution. Many find it difficult to know where the man leaves off and the institution began. He was so iconic to TSTC in Harlingen. With us tonight is Dr. Gilbert Liao, the longtime president of TSTC. Gilbert, all those thousands of students who even yet today prosper in RGV, all of us are standing on your shoulders. Thank you, Gilbert. And now I'd like to ask Mayor Chris Boswell from the City of Harlingen to join me up on stage in receiving the Founders Award on behalf of the City of Harlingen. Mayor Boswell.
The TSTC campus was part of the old Harlingen Air Base, and the Harlingen Air Base, when it closed, really devastated this community.
Mayor George Young, Dr. Roy Duggar, and the then president, who was Milton Schiller. And I had sat down at the old Sun Valley Motor Hotel and talked about getting some legislation written to present to the legislature, expanding James Conley Technical Institute to Harlingen, Texas, at the air base here, which was, and then closed. We've had great political leadership in this city. We've had as good a private leadership than you can get in any city in the United States.
TSTC is really a cornerstone of our community and everything that we've been able to do from an economic development standpoint.
Originally, when we started, when James Conley Technical Institute was established, it was to train people to go to work.
And that was just the beginning. And it has really grown, and we have really partnered in many different ways to move the community forward since those days when the air base closed. Being able to partner with TSTC for specialized job training and tailored job training is really invaluable. The City of Harlingen has invested heavily in the development of this great institution, and we're really proud of what we have here in our community. We're really blessed to have TSTC as this partner that we can always turn to help train our workforce. The City of Harlingen is greatly honored that TSTC has recognized it in delivering this award to us, this great ceremony, and we are greatly appreciative of the partnership, more than anything else, that we've had for over 50 years with TSTC.
Thank you, Mayor Bob. The 2015 Founders Award goes to the City of Harlingen for South Texas with all of our thanks. Without you, none of us would be here. Thank you very much. Yes. And now to West Texas, my old stomping grounds. I don't think it's a coincidence that on April 22nd, 1969, local leaders in West Texas formed the Sweetwater Study and Survey Committee for the utilization of the air base facilities. Do you have a theme here? Air bases? Thank you to the Air Force for the BRAC. That was a joke. To find a new use for Avenger Field, which is the air base that trained the Wasps during World War II, a location rich with history. Then in the summer of 1969, the second called legislature of the 61st legislature, TSTC had an advocate in the now late Senator Temple Dixon. A lawyer, a rancher, and a legislator, then Representative Dixon made it possible for the college to secure funds necessary for TSTC to bring the economic prosperity of technical training to West Texas. And as TSTC grew to Abilene, Breckenridge, and eventually to Brownwood, it was then Senator Dixon who was responsible for procuring state funds to support technical ed and the economic development that TSTC did. Though we've lost Temple, regrettably, the Honorable Temple Dixon has left an indelible mark on Texas and on TSTC, and we are proud to award Temple Dixon the Founders Award for West Texas. Accepting the award on behalf of her late husband is Miss Kathy Dixon. Miss Dixon, if you'll please come join me on stage.
The community came together, the city commission and the county commissioners, everybody in town wanted to have a technological college out at what was called the old radar base in Sweetwater. They went to Temple in the legislature and said, we would like to have this as a state-funded opportunity for people to get training where they wouldn't get training otherwise. And so he worked with the lieutenant governor and the governor and the speaker of the house. So they got that bill passed. Temple was so proud of it because he had a deep belief in education. Well, a technical college provided training for services that you don't get at community college. It was a need that wasn't being met. After he was out of the House of Representatives, in 1976, he became president of the Rolling Plains Foundation. He's in charge of funding and of setting up 3 more campuses in West Texas because he saw a real need there. And that was in Brownwood, Breckenridge, and Abilene. One of the senators said one time to me, you know, we call Temple Senator TSTC because that's his real love.
For some reason, I have a vague memory of the groundbreaking. It was probably because I was in kindergarten and I got to miss school. And I remember the gold shovel. And that gold shovel was always there. And there was always a place somewhere in the law office or, you know, in these pictures, the gold shovel that broke the ground.
What I think about when I think about, yes, his building and giving great efforts into the education and the technical school, I also think about how he built the community and how he had such great heart for the community.
It's hard to really separate memories of TSTC from just growing up around someone who was involved in the entire community all of our lives. And as far as TSTC, I think he did have a vision. I think it was probably a bigger vision than he even recognized.
And if you can have an institution in your community where you have industries and you can train your skilled workers in your community, then you get to keep your community. And if you have a place like TSTC that can train the skilled workers, then industries will come. And the industries will be there because the workers will be there.
My vision is that those campuses are so full it's hard to find a parking place. And then people are exchanging ideas and feeding off of each other and and having a support base where they not only find the technical education, but they find a family of how they're going to connect in the future and make a living. I know he's smiling, saying, good job. Keep going. Get it done.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. I know how proud he is. Thank you. It's very heavy. It is. Mrs. Temple-Dixon. And now to East Texas. The year was 1991. In that year, it paved the beginning of the next era of TSTC. During that year, the Marshall Economic Development Corporation, also called MEDCO, led a community effort to bring technical training to the city of Marshall in East Texas. Since that time, we've seen leaders in Williamson County, Ellis County, Fort Bend County, and others follow in the trailblazing footsteps of TSTC, of the Marshall leaders, and seek a TSTC in their region too. So, the leaders of MEDCO partnered together with the City of Marshall, Harrison County, the Chamber of Commerce, and citizen leaders to strengthen the ever-growing demand for technical training and economic development to fill the employment vacancies in the high-tech arena in the Piney Woods, or as they say, behind the pine curtain. Over the years, there have been many leaders from East Texas who've contributed to the success of the campus over there, several of whom are with us tonight. All of them have been engaged in the leadership efforts that brought TSTC and has prospered it in East Texas. The award goes tonight to the Marshall Economic Development Corporation, and accepting the award for the corporation was one of its key leaders, Rusty Howell, also with him Judge Richard Anderson and Mayor Ed Smith. I ask that you all please come join me as we watch your video.
The number one asset that we have is a quality labor force. And we realized early in our MEDCO beginning that a well-trained quality labor force with the right attitude and the correct training is an asset that many areas don't have. MEDCO is the Marshall Economic Development Corporation as a proper name. MEDCO is a separate corporation from the City of Marshall. We work very closely with the City of Marshall and Harrison County Commissioners Court. Our main goal is to encourage new businesses and expansion from old businesses or existing businesses. So we started working on the possibility of getting a training facility into Marshall to help train and guide us. And that's when we hit upon the idea of TSTC. The main thing was the political dynamics of the people in office in that particular period of time was highly favorable to us. Second thing is we used the challenge to the legislature and the Senate that there was not a TSTC or a technical college east of I-35. And they couldn't deny this. We met the challenge and we received the college, it being a subsidiary of Waco. And we operated under that umbrella, and the college became a standalone campus, and it's done nothing but grow. To receive the Founders Award, I think is a tribute to MEDCO in the fact that Medco has done a good job for the community. The success of an educational facility is similar to the success of a business. That if you can't or you don't have a market for the product that you merchandise to the public, then you're not a success. And we wanted a goal for TSTC to have jobs for a minimum of 90% of the graduates. And they have done that. They have exceeded that.
The winner of the 2015 Founders Award for East Texas is the Marshall Economic Development Corporation. Accepting on behalf of the corporation is Rusty Howell. Thank you so much, Rusty. These are the first four founders. In the years to come, we'll take every opportunity to recognize others on whose shoulders we stand. They're the first, but they aren't the last. And as we strive hard to realize the governor's vision for the next 50 years of TSTC, ever more will follow, because they'll see the benefit of what a skilled workforce can do in an amazing economy like Texas. So if you would, I hope you'll join me in one more round of applause for the four winners: Senator Murray Watson, the City of Harlingen, the Honorable Temple Dixon, and the Marshall Economic Development Corporation. I hope you take it. There's someone else that I think it's particularly important that we thank. It was about 4 years ago when the Board of Regents for TSTC said, you know, we think we have a worthy story, that what we do at TSTC is so special that there are many people in Texas who would very graciously support our efforts. We think TSTC could do a better job of developing a donor base and philanthropic individuals and corporations who are interested in strategically investing in the sort of special work we did. The bulk of that work is done by the TSTC Foundation. In fact, it was the TSTC Foundation that hosted this event for us tonight. They did all the logistics, set up everything that you see here, and without that close work that we do with the TSTC Foundation, events like this would never be possible. So I wanted to give a special thanks to Virgil Moore and the many other board members that serve on the TSTC Foundation for the tireless work that they do on behalf of all those students who come to us with hope for a better future for themselves and for their families, because for a little bit of tuition and a little investment in time, they can earn a great career that earns them a great salary. So all of our thanks to the TSTC Foundation. Thank you. Examples of that, if you would, turn in your program to the middle section. I believe it was page 12 or so, and you'll see many of those generous donors listed there. I'd like to particularly call out those who contributed to tonight's event at the highest levels. The Brazos Higher Education Service Corporation, a cornerstone of student aid not just in Texas, but in America for decades and decades. Headquartered in Waco, they were a very generous supporter. So too was the Breckenridge Alliance for TSTC. Now I have to tell you, I believe Stevens County may have about 11,000 people. And this is in a county 50 miles square. It is, but their hearts can't be bound by a space that small. I will tell you, the community came together to provide a level of support to our banquet tonight that was the highest level. That is a special, can-do West Texas effort. And then, yes. And then finally, to a couple who has a really special meaning to those of us that have been at TSTC for a while, Dr. Rolf and Haberecht and his wife Uda. Rolf has an amazing career as a philanthropist, an inventor, an engineer, and a scientist, an entrepreneur, and a businessman. And we had the benefit of serving under Rolf when he was the chairman of our board for several years and served for years on our board. And much of the prosperity we have today we owe to Rolf's leadership while he was there. He too, the Haberechts were benefactors at the highest level. So I hope you'll join me in thanking our donors one more time. And now I'll turn the stage back to Susan Combs.
Okay, let me find my spot. Well, we can all imagine the hectic schedules that our legislative leaders have, and fortunately for us, the schedule of Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick opened up tonight so he could join us. Let me give you a little bit of background. He was elected Lieutenant Governor of Texas in 2014 after serving as a state senator from Houston. A principled and committed conservative, Lieutenant Governor Patrick is leading the fight to secure the border, reduce property and business taxes, reform education, and address our state's infrastructure challenges to assure that Texas continues to flourish economically. Dan has been married to his wife, Jan, a former school teacher for 40 years this July. Their son, Ryan, is a Harris County Criminal Court District Judge in Houston, and their daughter, Shane, is a registered nurse. Dan is also the proud grandfather of 3 grandchildren. Please help me welcome to the stage our Lieutenant Governor of the state of Texas, Dan Patrick.
Thank you very much. I will be brief tonight. It's been a great evening. I want to tell you how proud I am to be here, how honored I am to be a part of this evening. So many of you have been so kind and have come up to myself, and I know the governor, and you've said, we really appreciate you being here. And I know the governor gives a lot of speeches, as I do, and we go to a lot of events. But tonight, I really had this great sense that you really did appreciate the fact that the governor was here, and that I was here, and that members of the legislature were here. And I want you to know that you're really important to Texas. I want you to know how proud all of us are of what you've accomplished. 97,000 graduates that are making a huge difference in the economy in Texas. Students who, as Dr. Stuckey and I have been talking throughout the dinner, many students come to your school because he said, some say it's my last chance. They're looking for a career. They're looking for the self-esteem of having a job and a career and taking care of a family. You've provided not just a great future for Texas, but you've provided a great future for individuals and families and fathers and mothers. You do a fabulous job. You know, last year when the campaign started, we had our first televised debate on your campus in Waco. I was happy to visit. It would have been better under different circumstances. It was a very nerve-wracking evening, but it all went well, and you all did a terrific job. You know, I was talking a little earlier, someone said, how did they get that car up here? And that's how good your students are. They took it apart downstairs, they brought it up, they put it together, and they're going to do that later. So for the real entertainment of the evening, hang around after Dr. Stuckey concludes in a couple of moments. I'm proud to partner with Governor Abbott. We have the same vision for education for this state. And he is absolutely right. One size does not fit all. We have 5.2 million students in Texas in public schools, 300,000 in homeschools, 250,000 in private schools, 150,000 in charters. About 5.8 million students go to Texas schools, about 1 in every 10 in America. And there is not one size fits all. Last session, I was chair of education in the Texas Senate, and I was proud that we passed a bill, HB 5, that put more focus on career than ever before in the history of Texas, so that every student had the opportunity to not only be prepared for college, but be prepared for work and career. And that bill, to show you how much people recognize what you have accomplished, looking at your model, that bill passed 181 to nothing. Every member of the House and Senate voted for that bill. Last session, I had a bill that couldn't quite get to the governor's desk, but as lieutenant governor, we have a little bit more pull. So we have passed Senate Bill 13. It's called the Workforce Development Bill. We passed it about a month ago, and I'm in eager anticipation of it passing the House and getting to Governor Abbott's desk for his signature. But that bill will remove the cap from dual credit courses for students, which is very important to students getting ready to go to TSTC and other colleges. Another key aspect of that bill is we're going to expand the Skills Fund, the eligibility for the Skills Fund, so that high schools can actually partner with you and with community college to use that money for equipment to help prepare students to move on from high school to college and be prepared for a career. And third, and this was a bill that I cared about last session. We passed out of the Senate, just didn't quite get to the governor's desk. And that is, we're going to pay for a course that every student will take in the 7th and 8th grade called Career Opportunities, or another course similar to it that the school district may choose, that will show those students in the 7th and 8th grade all the careers that are there for them. And that's so important, so they know the great future that they have in Texas. You know, I had to smile. Governor, you looked really good with that welder's hat on. I didn't know if you were a hockey goalie or getting ready to weld, but he was talking about the money, he might go into welding. Well, I don't know if you know, but the lieutenant governor makes $600 a month. So I'm really thinking about that, Governor. And when he's out of town, which is rarely, but when he's out of, the state, I'm governor for the day. And when I'm governor for the day, I get his pay rate. So if you're going to do any welding, Louisiana would be a good place just for a weekend. I want to introduce to you, and I can't see in the lights here, but you will, before I close, an outstanding senator, a hero as lieutenant colonel, one of my best friends, a man of integrity, a man who you can trust, a man who, when he looks you in the eye and tells you something, you know it's true, and that's Senator Brian Birdwell. Brian, please stand. And lastly, I was sitting there tonight saying, what can I do to help in a small way, besides working with the governor to be sure that you're funded properly, that we continue to give you the opportunity to grow because it's good for Texas. But tonight, I'm going to announce the Lieutenant Governor's Scholarship. And for each year I'm Lieutenant Governor, don't know if that'll be 4, 8, 12, who knows, somewhere in between, I will donate, and my wife will donate, $1,000 to a female student and a male student for TSTC in Waco in telecommunications, since my background is in television and radio. And I know it's just a small piece, but in talking to Dr. Stuckley, what I realized was that a lot of students, and it's only about $12,000 to complete the 2-year degree, and that's a bargain when you can go out and make $100,000 or $50,000. But a lot of students that you have need financial help. So in a small way, we will have the Lieutenant Governor's Scholarship for a male and female student each year. We'll begin it next year, And every year that I'm Lieutenant Governor, we'll provide that scholarship. And when I'm no longer Lieutenant Governor, you get whoever takes my place and you say, hey, we started this tradition and you need to continue it. Forgive me, I'm going to exit because I have a lot of work and reading to do for a long day tomorrow. Thank you. God bless you. I'm proud of what you've accomplished over 50 years. Good night, everybody. God bless.
Well, that was a great treat. I'm so glad that he was able to come. We now have another treat in store. Dr. Elton Stuckley, although he's a small-town boy from Penelope, Texas, he is no small deal. He has had a profound effect and impact on TSTC and on countless Texans' lives. Elton first came to TSTC as a student, graduating in 1975 with a degree in electrical power technology. After gaining 12 years of industry experience working at Fluor and Waco's own General Tire as a senior electrical designer and electrical and electronics power technician, he came home to TSTC as an employee nearly 30 years ago. He has served as an instructor, department chair, technical division director, vice president for student learning, and is the only graduate to ever return and serve as the college's president. Dr. Stuckley is now the vice chancellor and chief operating officer, overseeing operations for all 11 of TSTC's locations. Under his leadership, TSTC now offers more than 180 awards and is poised to work even more effectively and efficiently to serve our Lone Star State. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Elton Stuckley.
So much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I can't tell you how big of a thrill it is for me to be here tonight. As I look back over the first 50 years, I can't tell you how many changes that I've seen. You know, this is such an important night for me that I'm thrilled to be able to be here with all of you, but it's especially special for me to have my wife here, Peggy, my mother, Evelyn, and my mother-in-law, Mary, with me tonight. Thank you for being here with me tonight. I know my father would be thrilled tonight, be proud to have been here tonight. Unfortunately, when he passed away, I'm going to tell you a story that I was telling the governor earlier. I grew up in a small town called Penelope, Texas, out on the farm. Wonderful parents. Had a great childhood on the farm, but when it came time to getting ready to go to college, I didn't have very much guidance, and so I was trying to decide what to do. So when I graduated from Penelope, Texas, and the governor asked me earlier tonight, Penelope, Texas, how big was your high school? And I said, Governor, all I can say is I graduated in the top 10. And so it meant a lot to be able to do that. And so I wanted, as a graduate of TSTC, I wanted to be able to show you that I am a living example of what TSTC can do for a typical Texas student. When I graduated from Penelope in 1973, I didn't know what to do, and so I enrolled in a local college, and started taking courses like history and government, and I went home halfway through the semester, and I told my mother, who I could always talk to easier than I could my father, and I said, Mom, I tell you what, this for me at this time, this is not me. I need to do something, and I'm thinking about transferring to the NTSTI. And she said, well, I'm not sure your father's going to like that. My father was always very stern and strict, and she said, what do you think? I said, well, Mom, that's something I've decided I'm going to do, and I want to do, and I'm going to do it. She said, well, son, are you going to tell him, or do you want me to tell him? And I said, Mom, come on. I'm the only son. I'm 18 years old. You tell him. And so she did. And I left that college during the semester, and at that time, TSTC was on quarters. I enrolled in the electrical power technology, and for the next 2 years, I studied and studied and studied. But it's interesting because in my last quarter at TSTC, I had the opportunity to interview with 5 companies who still to this day comes to our campus during the last semester when students are about to graduate, and they try to work with the students and select those students to come to work for them. I interviewed with 5 companies, and all of a sudden I turned around and within 2 weeks I had 5 job offers. And so then it was very difficult to decide what to do with my career. I selected one of those jobs and went on, and I worked in industry for 12 years before having the opportunity to come back and teach in the department that I graduated from. And I think back over the years about what TSTC means to me personally and what it means to the thousands of graduates that we put out in the workforce. I know for me, it's given me the opportunity to live the American dream, to have a wonderful family, wonderful grandchildren, and now at a point in my career where I can give back to the community and help those that helped me over the years. What has TSTC done for me? Not to brag, but when I graduated with that degree, I never in the last 40 years ever had a job that wasn't a top-paying, top-notch job. And I give all of that credit to TSTC. During my 40 years in industry and at TSTC, I was able to go back and get my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, and my doctorate degree. My goal was to acquire that before I turned 55, and I did. But 2 months ago, when the Waco Trib came in for an interview about the 50th anniversary, I have all of my degrees on the wall. And we started talking about the cost of education and what it meant to me to spend the majority of my life acquiring more education. We talked about the cost, and I said, well, I know my bachelor's degree costs this much, and my master's degree costs this much, and my doctorate degree costs this much. And she said, Dr. Stuckley, what about your associate degree? I said, my associate degree is priceless. I can't put a value on what that degree has meant to me and my family. You know, I look back in 2003, when I became the president at TSTC Waco, I was interviewed again, and they came in and they said, President Stuckley, there's a rumor in the community that you and your wife just built a new home and that you completely wired the home yourself. And I said, well, it's not a rumor. She said, well, why would you do that? I said, because I could. I had the skill set. I had the skill set provided to me by TSTC that can never be taken away. I remember 2 years ago, they asked me to do a piece on the community. I still have my old tool pouch as a technician. I brought it to the school. I still have all of my tools. They said, put it on. Unfortunately, it wouldn't fit anymore, but that's okay too. We'll leave it at that. American leather, we have a long way to go. It kept shrinking over the years. I tell you what really struck home with me 3 weeks ago in Waco during Industry Career Day. We had over 100 companies there trying to court our graduates getting ready to graduate. I saw a former student of mine in 1989 that was there with a major oil company, and he came up to me and he said, Mr. Stuckley, you still remember me? And I said, Richard, I sure do. He pulled out his wallet and he showed me pictures of his 3 sons that are like 13, 14, and 15 now. And I sat back and I thought, that's where I was 40 years ago. Having the opportunity to live the American dream and then passing that dream to the next generation and to the next generation and to the next generation. So I'm proud on behalf of all of the TSTC graduates. I'm here tonight to say thank you. Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Patrick, the Texas legislature, all of the supporters of TSTC, the regents, on behalf of all TSTC graduates, I salute you for what you've done to help make my life what I consider to be a success and live the American dream. I tell you, I know there are a lot of young Elton Stuckleys out there today, a typical Texas student who just needs the chance to be guided in the right direction. TSTC is a great choice for a rewarding career, and so I applaud you for all of your support in helping TSTC for the first 50 years. The next 50 years, the best is yet to come. Thank you very much.
I think it's evident, as you have all heard tonight, that it's hard not to be a passionate advocate of TSTC when you've got a taste of it in your mouth. I'm going to leave you with these words tonight from Ephesians chapter 3, verse 16 through 21. I pray that out of his glorious riches he may strengthen you with power through his Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. And I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power together with all the saints to grasp how wide, long, high, and deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us, to him be glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen.
Well, this has been an extraordinary evening, and Dr. Stuckley and everyone else who participated from TSTC, they have certainly been inspirational. I want to also say thank you, of course, for all of the sponsors who let us gather here together. And I'd like to ask you all to help me give them one more round of applause for their hard work. And let's not forget those visionaries of 50 years ago who had the incredible vision to launch an educational and training enterprise for so many hundreds of thousands Texans who have been successful. Let's thank them for their vision. And a couple more groups, Virgil Moore and the Foundation, for their commitment, which is continuing, has been so strong to support TSTC. Let's give them a round of applause so maybe they'll keep on giving. And finally, but not last, is the TSTC body itself. The leaders, the faculty, the staff, the retirees, the students, and the graduates, all of you are great points of light out there on not just the Texas landscape, but the national landscape of education. We all salute you. So thank you all for joining us for this great 50th anniversary. I don't believe that the Mustang is my gift for tonight. Perhaps Governor Abbott and I can compete for it. But I just want to say I was so honored to be asked to participate as your comptroller. I thought it was so important for the equipment grant here. I know that you're going to do more training people. Every chance for every Texan, every path for every Texan. It is critical for us to continue this vision, and I want to say, Chancellor Reeser, it was delightful to be with you. Governor Abbott, it was delightful to be with you, and I hope everybody has the wonderful rest of the evening. So thank you again, and we are finished with the program. Thank you.